Okay.
Are there any comments on today's special meeting agenda?
I show none.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 7:04, and we're back from our closed session. There are no reportable items. So we're going to adjourn the closed meeting and begin our regular meeting. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the KPPCSD to order and have our clerk conduct the roll call.
Directors Duggan,
Here.
Director Hassai,
Here.
Vice President Goff,
Here.
Director Spath,
Here.
and President Aquino Fight.
Here. Thank you, Linnell. It's been a very busy few weeks, so I really don't have very many comments as president. We do have a few things to report on. I would like to, at this time, pull agenda item number 14, and we'll move it to a future board meeting. So now let's turn to public comment. Individuals wishing to address the board of directors concerning any items not on the agenda may make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. For Zoom attendees, please raise your hand, and when you're called on by myself, board president, you'll be unmuted and you can address the board of directors. Please state your name clearly for the audio recording. You are requested to address your comments to the president and the board of directors and not to staff and or the audience. By state law, the board is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you have any documentation that you would like distributed to the board, please mail or email it to the clerk of the board at the address posted on our website. Consent calendar. Let's turn to our consent calendar. All matters on our consent calendar are considered routine and are approved by one motion and vote unless a board member or the general manager requests an item to be removed for separate discussion and action. Does any director or does their GM wish to pull any items besides item 14 from today's agenda? Oh, and excuse me, are there any public comments? Okay, none. Okay. All right, may I have a motion to approve our consent calendar for this month?
I move to approve our consent calendar for this month.
I'll second that.
Linnell, if you could call the vote.
Director Duggan,
Yes.
Director Hassai,
Yes.
Vice President Goff,
Yes.
Director Spath,
Yes.
and President Aquino Fight.
Yes. The motion passes 5-0.
I just want to clarify a reminder that we can, is it correct that we can vote by acclamation, but we always have to ask for yays and nays, but we don't have to do this anymore because we're not fully remote. So just a clarification.
Thank you, Director Hassai. All right. Moving on. Moving on to the police chief's monthly report. Chief Gankis is currently on vacation. Is that right, David?
Yeah, Chief's taking a well-deserved 2-week vacation. He'll be back next week. I do want to report to the board that we've had a new officer that was recently hired that has started field training. I met him yesterday. Good young recruit. So that's a positive. And as you can see in the report in your board packet, the interaction with the police and the community was fantastic for National Night Out.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great. I guess for the board, since the chief isn't here, if we have any questions, we should probably direct it directly to him, or he'll be here next month. Now turning to the general manager's monthly report.
I'll be happy to answer any questions from my written report. I do want to make mention of a couple of things that I recently found out. One is on the cleanup week next week. We're really set up for basically everything, but I had the question about meds, and the answer is no, they're not set up to take those. So the Christies have been fielding a lot of calls. We've had some keep spreading the word. There was an article we placed and an ad we placed in the Outlook. So hopefully, people are prepared to get rid of their junk.
Thanks, David. Any questions from the board? Director Duggan?
David, I and several members of the public were just curious about a little more detail on the contract with Lyft and Sprint. Are they actually paying us anything? And have we confirmed the kind of insurance that they have? Lyft and Sprint is a company that uses the park for exercise programs. They bring all their equipment, but they do use our park.
I can speak to the contract. We have signed a contract with them and they have provided us with adequate insurance to make sure that the district is protected against claims. I cannot answer the question about money.
So there's a $900 basically fee for the year that they'll pay. I just contacted them because we haven't seen a check yet, but in fairness to them, there was a little delay because of the insurance issue. There was a delay in going back and forth. And then when we mailed the invoice, it went to the wrong address. So we will expect to see the $900 fee for this fiscal year, probably in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Next item is an update from the ad hoc reorganization committee, but I'll let David, you're going to give more information later.
Yeah, I'd like to combine agenda item 9 with 12. And we can do the summary then, as well as take a look at the RFP.
Thank you. Next is a update by the Police Department and District Office Permanent Location Ad Hoc Committee. I will provide that update. So by now you will have all seen the letter we shared from the Executive Director of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley dated August 15, 2023. As the letter states, the Board of Directors of the UCB met in August, discussed the possibility of our Kensington Police Department leasing space on the UUCB property, and ultimately voted against exploring a possible lease arrangement for the KPD with the district. I wish to thank the UUCB Board of Directors for their time and consideration. I want to thank the board for seriously discussing our request to lease land on the Kensington side of the UUCB property. I'm disappointed in the board's decision and was a bit surprised. Director Goff, Chief Gancass, and I walked away feeling very optimistic from the July meeting with them about the possibility of engaging in a conversation with the UUCB on this matter. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of the August meeting and that it was open to the public, so I could not attend that meeting and answer questions directly then. Of course, I ultimately fully respect their decision and I do want to report that I've reached out to the co-chairs of the UUCB Board of Directors, and I've already chatted briefly with the Executive Director of the UUCB to better understand their concerns and the decision that was taken. As someone who comes from a social justice family and has dedicated her life to social justice issues, in particular racial justice, I deeply respect the mission and the work of the Unitarian Universalist Church. So no matter what happens moving forward on this particular matter of leasing land, my goal is to strengthen the relationship between our two entities. And long-term, I think it would be beneficial for both the KPPCSD and the UUCB to have a stronger, more collaborative relationship as neighbors. So where does that leave us? Already, Director Goff, Intern GM Aranda, and I are working tirelessly to re-engage property owners of other options within Kensington to lease or perhaps purchase land for housing our police. We are revisiting options previously considered by the KPPCSD boards and several new ones. Given the sensitive nature of the conversations, it would be premature for me to share details at this time. However, as soon as the options become more clear and we have more information on the potential costs and how we would determine the cost, we will of course share that with the public. I also want to report that we met today with Supervisor John Joya and went through some of these options. He is aware of the importance of this issue to our community and has expressed commitment to prioritizing this and helping us to move things forward. And I definitely would like to get to the public a more detailed report in October and in November, but we are making this a top priority. I want to assure you all, and we're working incredibly hard on this. And I hope you all will continue to have patience with us. I'm disappointed, but we're moving forward. That's really all I have to report on this issue. I'll take questions from the board.
Since you said that you had more detailed conversations with the UCB reps, could you talk more about why their decision was reached and yeah, whatever more you learned from that conversation?
This was a conversation with, I only spoke so far with Tess Oriva, the ED. And I don't want to, I'm not sure if she's comfortable with me sharing what she shared with me, but I think there were issues or concerns about, the optics of having a police department right next to a church, which at the national level has a very strong stance on racial justice and so major concerns about policing in America at this. So, yeah,
Got it.
that's what I think is going on, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the church. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I guess we can move to director comments.
I just want to thank the Bayview Refuse and Recycling for the expanded, I would say, services with the cleanup. Very coincidentally, they said that they would take dishwashers, and I arranged to have a new dishwasher. I already had the dishwasher, and we arranged to have it put in today just so we could put it on the curb over the weekend. So anyway, just overall, it's been really amazing that they are increasing the service so much. So thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed Mr. Christie's on. So he's listening to this too, but him and I had a phone conversation yesterday, and the discussion centered around we're gonna get together and kind of have a meeting of how everything went, what went right, what maybe we could improve upon, and just keep on working off of that for the following years.
Thank you, Director Duggan.
So I want to make sure that anyone listening knows that assistance is available. Bayview Refuse and David Aranda have created a system where you can actually be helped to get the junk you don't want out of your home and onto the curb or picked up in a truck. So the numbers are available on those little flyers and in the materials here. I also want to mention that I really appreciate what the committee for the relocation of the police have been doing, and that I stand ready to help however I and my counseling skills can be useful. And I'm trying to not harass David and Alex too much by constantly saying, put me in, coach. But there is no reason why each board member here could not have a part.
Yes, there is.
We are
Yes, there is.
assigned by the board on an agendized item. If we are assigned a specific task,
But when two board members are already assigned, no one else can participate. That's how it goes.
they can give us assignments, right? The board can give us separate assignments.
Let's see what Ann says.
What does Ann say?
Well, the Brown Act does forbid more than two members of the board from having interactions with each other on a matter within the board's purview. So if your assignment would require you to talk to a second council member who was already talking to yet a third board member, that would be a violation. It's a risky business, unfortunately.
But if that board member were the only person speaking to a specific person at a rental location,
Well, but you'd have to make sure that the person at the rental location isn't interacting with board member 2, who is also interacting with board member 3. Even if they're not all in the same place at the same time,
Yeah.
violations can happen.
So I want to really thank you for your generous offer, and let me talk to Anne about whether this is even a possibility. But I want to thank you. Thank you, Director Duggan.
And, you know, the community is rightfully frustrated and anxious to hear where we can put our police, and we're listening. We are trying. Besides that, I wanted to quickly say that about a week and a half ago, our officers were able to use the Berkeley flock camera system to figure out a situation where there was a suspicion of a abducted child, which turned out to be, you know, an incorrect suspicion. And I do feel strongly that it would be wise for us to look into having flock cameras of our own. They're not that expensive.
The plan is to have a presentation at the next board meeting.
Okay. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Spath.
Going back to the Bay Refuge, and I really appreciate that they're expanding their choice of what they're taking this time around. But I would urge people to be careful when they're putting out their hazardous waste, make sure they separate them, because they could possibly injure some of the individuals who are picking these up. So make sure they separate them and put them in an appropriate location. So, you know, it doesn't, it's not mistaken for something else. So thank you.
That's a good point. Thank you, Director Spath. Any other comments or questions from the board? I think we'll turn to the public. Any questions or comments on our reports? Let's first go to Zoom. I see a hand from Lynn Du. Lynn, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Alex. I was wondering if you got the sense that the church would have made that decision anywhere in the parking lot. So it didn't matter whether it was, if the police wanted to move into the area where the fire department is now.
And that's why I've reached out to that's a great question, and I had the same one, Lynn. So that's why I'm trying to reach out to the 2 co-chairs of the board and also the ED again to see if we can clarify that. And we'll find out, and I'll report back.
Okay, thanks.
I also see a hand from Greg Christie. Greg, you can unmute yourself.
All right, sorry, I had heard all your comments. Unfortunately, Director Fike, I didn't hear you when you were talking. I don't know why everything went like to mute for everybody, and then I heard David talking. So I apologize if I didn't hear your comments. But thank you for the comments. And yes, we want to really push this, and with the board's support and kind of David's good conversations with us. So and we are trying to talk to each individual about the hazardous waste. So we're making sure that we don't want them to bring it out. We're getting everybody's phone numbers that calls in, and then we're going to have a training session with everybody on the day we start this. So thanks. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to call at all. We want to help out as much as we can.
Thanks, Greg. While I have you, my comment and question really was, I was curious if you had seen an uptick in folks reaching out for help, or we can also talk about this next month. I'm sure we'll have more information, but given the expanded service, I hope folks are taking advantage of it. And I was just curious.
Oh yeah. We're getting plenty of calls and comments, and then we're going to be going into garages and actually houses in some cases where people need that help. But there's definitely an expansion on this, and we're trying to say no. We're not trying to say no to anybody. So we'll, in one way or another, we'll get it done. we may stage an area and we're gonna try to get, like, keep the metal separate, like dishwashers and refrigerators and everything. We're gonna try to like keep that separate, even mattresses in most cases. So Sawyer, in most cases, so. For some
Greg.
reason, yeah, go
Sure,
ahead.
we have another question from another board member, Greg, if you could stay on.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg, do people need to inform you if they have hazardous waste out in front of their houses, or is it just going to be automatic?
We put on everything, and then even that reminder flyer we sent out, we asked everybody to call us. If you have any hazardous waste or any universal waste or anything, to call us, and we're arranging, we want phone numbers and we want it left at the house or in the house, or we'll call you when we're doing the route that day to pick it up.
Thanks, Greg. Any questions or comments from the audience here live? Seeing none, we can move on to the next agenda item. So now we'll go into discussion and action of a few items. Next is item number 12, discussion and approval to issue an RFP and solicit proposals in conjunction with the Kensington Fire Protection District regarding financial studies and exploring reorganization with the two entities. Director Spath.
Thank you. Sylvia and I have been working with our counterparts at the fire board, Larry Nagel and Daniel Levine, as well as the two general managers, and Ann has contributed as well. So we've come up with a request for proposal, an RFP, that we hope will be ready to be put onto the street by October 1. It's not a long one. It covers 3 task areas. The first one of which is to do a fiscal analysis of the 2 districts, and that is looking at a 5-year span, and then projecting out 5 years if the 2 districts were either consolidated or reorganized, and it's roughly the same thing. And then finally, presentations to the and a report to both boards, and doing that at a public meeting. And as you can see, there are a variety of submittals that would have to be part of that proposal. And the 2 general managers will be the focal points for receiving those proposals. And although we don't list them with regard to the end-on questions, it's presumed that the 2 general managers would also be the focal point for any questions that come in from the proponents. I'd also note that there is a reference to an attachment A, number 9, is under the submittal requirements, and that attachment speaks to the standard contract terms, and those be ironed out once both boards approve the RFP, and it will be ironed out between the 2 districts, 2 general managers, and probably legal counsel as well. So we have here this RFP. I think it's ready for approval by this board. The RFP will also be presented to the fire board at their meeting, and hopefully it will be similarly approved. Our recommendation, that is the recommendation of the committee being Sylvia and I and Larry and Daniel, is that the cost of this work be split equally between the 2 boards. So that's our recommendation here. And Larry and Daniel have indicated that they are going to make the same recommendation to the fire board. So I think that's kind of where we are right now. We're looking for approval from the board, and hopefully we'll be able to move forward with publishing this by October 1. And you can see that there is a schedule that would result in a finalist being awarded mid to the end of November, and then a final contract just before the first of the year. So Sylvia, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I think it's very straightforward. And I think at this point we could ask, maybe ask if the board has questions and then move to the public.
Sure. So does anyone? Sarah, you're on.
Sorry, don't want to cut you off prematurely, but I just wanted to say, it's not a question. It's just a big thank you to our colleagues on the fire board, Director Nagel and Director Levine, and of course, Director Spath and Director Hessai. Thank you for all your hard work. And it's just I think this is a moment, I think a moment everybody should be proud of, this collaboration between the two boards on just getting answers to a basic question that's been plaguing this community that we've just all needed to know, and to end the speculation and just find out the information. And so I really commend both representatives on both boards, and thank you for all your work. It looks great, very thorough. Thank you.
And I certainly would thank the two general managers, and Ann as well. And it'll be an important document, one, to determine whether it's feasible to go forward. And the material in the financial analysis would be, if it is feasible to go forward, then it would be part of the proposal to LAFCO for a reorganization or consolidation.
I would just also like to echo Director Goff's comments. This RFP looks great, and thank you all for your hard work. Director Duggan.
Same here.
Any questions or comments from the public? I don't
see anything.
I don't see any hands. This is okay. Any questions or comments here live? Seeing none. I guess we can, I guess, do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the RFP, draft RFP, or the language in front of us, and give permission to the general manager and council to proceed with anything that needs to be ironed out, should the fire board also approve. If that motion was made properly.
Seconded.
Linnell, if you could call the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, the motion passes 5-0. Great, exciting, congratulations. Next item is we're back. David, if you could provide a little context for this.
Yeah, we're coming back to the board again because even though I had asked the county for a sample of the resolution to get approval to move our money out of the county, they rejected it. I attached some backup so all the board could see the emails that went back and forth. I asked Eddie Bailey to assist in the rewording, and hopefully the third time will be the charm.
They really want to keep our money.
Thank you, David. Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll do it. I'll try. A motion to adopt resolution number 2023-03 revision number 3, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Kensington Police Protection and Community Services District authorizing appointment of the general manager as treasurer and authorizing transfer of treasurer authority from Contra Costa County to the Board of Directors of the Kensington Police Protection and Community Services District.
I'll second that.
Do the acclamation thing. Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Finally getting the acclimate. Okay, that is our last item since we tabled item 14 for a future meeting. Yes, David.
I wanted to mention two things. A reminder to the board that there's a special meeting that's been posted for Sunday, September 17th, which is a presentation by good guest Kensington. So that's one reminder. The other is you'll see on Saturday, if you come up to the park in the morning, there's going to be a lot of activity once again with our benches, volunteers from our police department, volunteers from the Scouts, and some other people, I think, that are coming to help as well.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss the presentation on Sunday. I was really looking forward to it. I'm on my way in a red eye tonight to Baltimore. So, but I would love to hear more. I think will it be recorded or? Well, anyway, I'll find out from all of you how it went and looking forward to collaborating with them. Any other comments? Otherwise, this meeting is adjourned, 7:35 p.m.
Wow.
That's a record.
Wow.
Yeah.